What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we need to talk to you about SoFi. I want to give you a quick overview of what happened with SoFi, go over some of the data points, what short did, and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And with that said, let's get right to it. So SoFi did have a pretty good day. It did go up 2.05%. As far as volume, 27.33 million. 54 is the average. And so despite the lower volume, you do see institutions buying a little bit more today than the norm. So that does show that algorithmic trading was kind of reduced. So that's kind of a good thing overall if you think about it. And based on the bid, the ask, and the selling price, majority of the transactions today were buys. There's a couple of big ones as well, 5.56, 1.41, and then 2.05 million. And most likely you are going to see a increased, presence from institutions, as this is the last week in the month. So a lot of institutions are going to be rebalancing. But like I said in my video yesterday, you were going to see a nice bump up, and that is initially because market makers were going to be covering those options that did expire in the money on last Friday. So overall, that was a fairly good thing because going into today, SoFi was sitting on a very strong resistance level. And so that was the nice push it needed to get above that. So $7.23 ultimately is that point that you needed to watch for SoFi to get above. Aside from that, $7.47 was that next. It kind of was flirting with it throughout the first part of the day, and then it did get that nice push from institutions. So once again, that's kind of where it landed ultimately. So again, that's going to play a part going into tomorrow. Today there was no news, no SEC filings, nothing along those lines. Shorts still did increase regardless of the optimism that is happening in the broader market. So they did increase 1.03 million shares. 19.48% of the free float is being shorted, and that works out to be 177.8 million shares overall are being shorted. So pretty interesting stuff. Cost to borrow average is 1.44%, and the cost to borrow minimum is 0.23%. Just to give you a quick overview, so utilization as well is 91.07%. And I have seen some people post about this. I guess I never really bring this up, but as in total, all shorts combined, that works out to be $1.29 billion worth. So factoring in the market cap right now for SoFi is about 7.13 billion. That is a lot of shorts in SoFi. So pretty interesting stuff nonetheless. Today though, there has been some new 13Fs coming down the pipeline. You do see some increasing. You do see at the same time Morningstar, so ticker MSTVX, did increase their short position. So right now they have about 29,000 shares short. And aside from that though, not all that much. So most likely over the next month and a half, you're going to see a lot of the bigger names kind of disclosing their positions in SoFi and what they did in Q1. But quickly moving on though, going over some of the other data points, starting off with options, $5.07 million in calls, 1.42 million in puts. And this is something I have been saying over the last little bit. A lot of money has been getting into SoFi through options. So that's kind of a good thing. As far as sentiment, 41% of all the options being done today are optimistic. The only negative about today is that there was a little bit more of an increase in the call options. So you can kind of see the open interest right now. And I have brought this up time and time again. Typically, whenever you see these very strong walls, that is going to be kind of hard for SoFi to get above. And typically in the past, SoFi has really struggled with that because market makers don't want SoFi to go over that. So they'll kind of artificially short it down and suppress it. So you do see 18,000 at the 750 and then 16,000 at the $8 strike price. So assuming SoFi is able to get above $8, then it is free and clear. But as of today, looks like there was a small temporary wall that is being created. But again, with some positive data or some positive news for it to come out, it can easily kind of gain some good momentum and kind of break above that. And one thing I just wanted to kind of break it down and show you is the dark pool. So I brought this up in the past. I've seen some people just kind of question, like, what the hell is the dark pool? So the dark pool is usually made for institutions and larger entities out there. Unfortunately, what has happened with the new age of investing is individuals that that are wanting to short use the dark pool, and that's usually because they're linked with market makers. So whatever happens on the dark pool is like kind of like Vegas. Whatever happens with the dark pool stays on the dark pool. So none of these transactions do affect the price. This is why you don't see the bid, the ask. You can't essentially see what is being done. You can't see who is like doing anything because all this is anonymous. So this is a very big flawed kind of system, but then again, that's kind of how the market is. So you do see quite a lot of transactions being done on the the dark pool, and that's kind of the normal case for SoFi. So a lot of that has to do with shorting. So hopefully shorts will eventually lose their shirt with SoFi, and one of them clearly has been openly admitting that, and that is Morningstar. Keep in mind with that new SEC transparency rule, a lot of institutions will be forced to disclose their short positions, because up until the tail end of 2023, institutions could kind of fly under the radar. They didn't have to disclose short positions. So for instance, Cathie Wood's, not saying that she's shorting, but she could have a lot of shorts, right? That was more of a voluntary thing that you had to do. You had to disclose your long positions. So with this new SEC transparency rule that is going to kick in, and so everyone will have to disclose their short position. So hopefully that should really help maybe diminish a lot of the manipulation that does happen with SoFi. But beside the point though, moving on, looking right here with it closing at $7.45, right below this S2. After hours, it was able to successfully get above that. So of course, going into tomorrow, you'll want to watch for it to get above that 750 kind of self-made resistance point, and that's done by the options. Aside from that, 788, and then assuming it can get over that, then it'll be back in the 8s. So it kind of seems very easy, but SoFi has really struggled with a lot of those heavy made resistance levels brought on by options, because you see shorts kind of double down at those stages. And so right now, looking on the actual chart, just give you a quick overview of what it's showing. So it is gaining a little bit of momentum, especially based off of Friday's consolidation. So I think that's kind of a good sign. So going into tomorrow, you'll see SoFi really try to go against this big wall. So right here, you do have that central boiling band, that 50-day moving average and 100-day moving average, all very much tightly knit. So ultimately that is a lot of resistance, but you do see a very bullish deviation, so white line above the red, and plus aside from that though, it is still very low, so it's around 29, so that is considered oversold. Number of retail investors have been getting in, despite the institutions not really getting fully in. But then again, that could change probably this week as a lot of institutions do rebalance their portfolios. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with SoFi? So don't forget to hit that thumbs up, and with all that, appreciate all of you watching.